Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Thursday. Welcome to another episode of Vuka Nazo here on the Big Daddy Liberty Show. My name is Sihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us here at the BDL Show, you can find us on our website. That's www.bigdaddyliberty.com. And of course, all our social media details are in the descriptor of this video. With that being said, how about we get into the news? All right, we begin here this morning out in Tembisa. An update for you. You'll remember, of course, we covered this issue on Monday with those very violent, what began as protests and became riots in that part of the world. That's on the east rand of Gauteng. You'll remember, of course, that is the Ekurhuleni metro that runs that area, which is a coalition-led government. Now, Tembisa is still volatile and rather tense at the moment, with the latest being that the EMPD, that's the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, effectively employing or deploying rather 100 of their officers to that township just to keep the peace. And goodness me, are they not needed? I mean, have a look at some of these images of the carnage that those riots brought in that area. These, of course, are images of the local civic center, community center in the area. That's the Rabasoto community center, where the municipal buildings were left as a carcass, a shell, a burnt out shell, forcing, ironically and rather sadly, ordinary residents of that area to be in a worse off position, because now they have to travel farther, as far as Kempton Park, in order to pay the very services that they argued they have a problem with at the moment. Again, it's self-defeating, it's self-sabotaging, and it comes back to that question I left you with on Monday, which is how far and for how long do we tolerate this behavior of people who happen to be unhappy with a grievance, legit as it may be, deciding to take things into their own hands insofar as burning, destroying, and looting their own shared spaces, their own public resources. At some stage, that behavior, which is a behavior, by the way, that stems from the apartheid days of these liberation movements, which would, quote, render things ungovernable and trash everything in a almost terror-like manner, that political culture, unfortunately, endures to this day, and it is shockingly destructive. It is self-sabotaging, and it helps no one except those political operators, those shady, murky characters who stoke up the public anger in order to employ it for their own political means. And we're seeing that, unfortunately, play out in this particular instance with the DA-led coalition in that part of the world. That's the Ekurhuleni mayor and her team. And of course the ANC, who are in opposition, pointing fingers at each other, playing the blame game. All the while, it is ordinary residents of Tembisa who are actually suffering in this fracas. Something's got to give, and in it doing so, we also need to raise our voice and say enough with the destruction, enough with the burning and the destruction and the almost self-sabotage of our spaces. Build this country, do not destroy it. All right, in other news, and indeed symptomatic of a point I made in yesterday's Vuka Nazo on how the criminal elites have realized that government and government-owned entities are a good place to literally pillage and pilfer, steal money from. Prasa, this is the passenger rail entity, reveals that they have as many as 3,000 ghost workers. Let me hit you with that again. 3,000 unverified workers drawing a salary from that entity. That's 3,000 salaries going off every month that they just simply cannot account for. Now, the piece I saw this in had this to say about it, quoting the Minister of Transport, a one loser, Ufigile Mbalula. He had this to say. The minister said that Prasa had started the process of physically verifying all its employees under what they call Project Ziveze, a Zulu word for show yourself, adding that since the freezing of salaries to employees who didn't actually work at the company, more employees have come forward to be verified. He added that a forensic investigation is currently underway on how the ghost employees found their way onto the payroll. I'll tell you exactly how they found their way onto the payroll. It is effectively this ever-growing government, this cumbersome, massive bureaucracy that's leaking full of holes, that is prone to being exploited by the criminally minded, who basically see it as an easy and quick way to make a buck. I've been saying this and I'll say it again. The more government you have, the more opportunities for corruption, the pilfering of funds that are meant for the poor, to be actually redirected and head into the pockets, to line the pockets of the criminal elites and indeed their buddies at times, the political elites. Enough with the growing state. Privatize these damn entities. Let the private sector run them. Provide an efficient and likely cheaper service so that people benefit and not the criminals and not the politicians. Right, and finally on today's headlines, update also of sorts on a rather annoying story, one that involves the Buffalo Soldier himself, Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of the Republic. Now, you'll know he's mired in scandal. The golden boy of the media and the ANC is mired in scandal relating to events surrounding his Phala Phala game farm, where it's alleged, amongst other things, that the president had stacks and wads of foreign currency stuffed under the bed and various items of furniture, and more concerningly, with that money allegedly having been stolen, that he, instead of reporting this to the police, used, according to the allegations, his security detail to effectively launch a hunt, a manhunt, an unsanctioned manhunt, if you will, that involved crossing borders into Namibia in order to find the suspects and the cash, and a whole sordid affair of things that happened around this. Indeed, that sordid affair of alleged things happening around this was the subject of what many political parties, that's opposition parties, sought to get to the bottom of. And one of those parties was the ATM, that's the African Transformation Movement, which had asked the Speaker of Parliament, Mapisa-Nqakula, to set up what's called a Section 89 inquiry. This is an inquiry by Parliament, which is meant to hold the President and the Executive to account. That inquiry was meant to probe the allegations into the Phala Phala events. Now, with the Speaker of the House, Mapisa-Nqakula, saying, actually, I need more time to set up this inquiry, she says. As to why, no idea. But this is what the article on this particular issue had to say on the matter. The National Assembly Speaker, Mapisa-Nqakula, she's missed her deadline that she had given herself for a decision on whether to set up a committee to probe allegations against Cyril Ramaphosa. During previous communication with the ATM president, that's Vuka Nazo, Nqakula had undertook to reconsider the party's push for an investigation into the claims against Ramaphosa, which stem from, as I'd mentioned, the theft at his Phala Phala farm in Limpopo. Now, there's absolutely no reason for why there should be a delay on this matter. We, constitutionally speaking, have that separation of state powers, the judiciary, the executive, and effectively the legislature, for these very reasons. If one or the other is embarked on sordid, illegal, or potentially illegal, rather, let me always use that language for legal purposes, potentially illegal behavior, then of course you'd want one arm of the state to hold the other at check. Now, I'm being idealistic here. I understand fully that with Mapisa-Nqakula being from the ANC, she'd be very loath and indeed reticent to investigate literally her boss, the president of the ANC. But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker for all of you who are wondering why this issue is not being pushed as it should. Who cares? Who cares when Mapisa-Nqakula? Your job, ma'am, is to literally uphold the Constitution and to represent those of us who are who abhor crime and criminality, even if that is allegedly being done by the president. Do your damn job. All right, and maybe on that annoyed note, let me say thank you for watching the Thursday edition of Vuka Nazo. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about some of these stories. And hey, maybe you have stories that you want to share with me, stuff that you would like me to cover. You can, of course, get in touch with me by going to our website, www.bigdaddyliberty.com. Drop me a message. Let me know what you might want me to cover on the show. With that being said, all of my social media details are in the descriptor of the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow on Vuka Nazo.